So welcome back everybody, my name's Andrew and you're watching the Kelley's Country Life, and today I am going to do an update and an addition to a very popular requested item that I've had on the channel. So lately I've been trying to catch up on some videos. We've done a lot of testing in the past, reviews, and I've had a lot of questions and follow-up comments from people. One of them has been about this electric refrigerator, cooler, freezer, whatever you want to call it here. This was a popular review that I did on the channel a while back, and people said, hey, how's it working? How's things going? So I thought I'd give you a little review, and we've got a new product today that we're going to actually test this out with. Kind of excited about it. So for starters, this cooler right here is made by Newair. It's an 80-quart cooler and it's dual zone. So by that I mean it has two different sides. This also has a compressor built in, so it can be a freezer, it can be a refrigerator, or it can be a combination of both. You can split the sides, change the temperatures. I'll make sure to include the initial video of this at the end of this if you would like to watch it. We'll just go over a few quick specs so you can understand what I'm working with, but today's video is about this product over here. So long story short, one of the most popular questions is, well, how's it been working? How's it running? I've had zero issues with this cooler. I've had it for many, many months. Actually, for quite a while after I initially got it. Everybody knows that we're building a house on the channel here. I use this as a job site cooler and it worked out perfect. I literally let it run 24/7, 7 days a week at times out there on the job site. Now it was under roof, but this was in Florida summer and heat, and it had no problem. I just ran it as a refrigerator, kept drinks cool that I could use while I was working on the job site itself. Worked beautiful for that. So it comes with a power adapter to hook up to 110 volts. It also comes with a power adapter to plug into 12 volts in your vehicle, your off-road vehicle, things like that, and it works perfect. But most people are probably going to look at something like this for camping. So why am I out here standing in the middle of the yard in the bright sunlight? Well, that's what today is all about. I have had so many requests from viewers over the last many months to start figuring out and testing solar products. People are interested in solar for the house, solar for items like this, solar for things in the shop. I've had request after request after request. No doubt solar is becoming more and more popular. So a little while back, Newair reached out to me and said, hey, we've got some solar panels and a battery that's coming out for this cooler. Would you be interested in testing it? I haven't really done reviews in a while, and everybody's been asking about this. I said, sure, why not? Plus, so many people have been picking my brain about solar. Now, I'll be the first to say, I don't know a whole lot about solar. We obviously understand the basic concept of it, but I've had zero experience with it. This is actually going to be the first solar panel that I've ever had in my hands. So that's what we're going to test out today. Let's be realistic. I don't do much unboxing stuff on the channel. I find it quite boring. So we're just going to open it up, see what's in there. I want to test. I want to see, does this stuff really work? So our first initial test, I've got some room temperature water bottles on this side. I'm going to put a small container of ice on this side, and we're going to dual zone it, which is going to be working it as hard as you possibly can. We're going to put the battery in this. We're going to set up the solar panel, and we're going to see how long it'll actually run this, if it'll actually bring it from a room temperature setting up. I don't know. Now, I will say it's wintertime in Florida. Yes, Florida does get a lot of sunlight, but it's definitely not the heat of summer, strong sunlight that you're used to. And it was in the 30s this morning, supposed to get up into the 60s this afternoon. So this should be a good test. This sounds like camping weather, fall camping weather for a lot of y'all. All right, so this is how the package comes. By the way, links for the cooler and for the solar panel kit will be down there in the description, but it's rated as a 100-watt solar panel, and it comes with a 173-watt-hour battery. Cool thing is this cooler is already set up on the side with a compartment to accept this battery. We're just now getting our hands on this stuff to test. So let me open this up real quick. We'll see what this is all about. All right, so the solar panel comes with a nice carrying case. And as you can see, it's just all built in and then folds right out. So you have two panels on either side. In the back compartment, I'm assuming is the cord. Yes, it is. It's already pre-attached. Let's just unravel it here. So it looks like this is probably about a 10-foot cord that it comes with. So you have to have your cooler relatively close. Now, if you look over here on the side of the cooler, this is your hookup for your 12-volt hookup, as well as your adapter that plugs into the wall. It converts down to plug into this as well. And here is your solar panel hookup. Also, there is a compartment right here that happens to already be built in for this battery. Very straightforward. There's the connections on the side. All right, so there is a little protective piece that goes over the connections down here in the bottom. You just slide that off when the battery's not in use. And let's slide the battery in. It's also got a power button on the side. There you go, press and hold. And it looks like it has an LED indicator to let you know the power of the battery. Right now it's showing 50% charge is the way it was shipped to me. So we'll plug the solar in. And as soon as I plug that solar in, I don't know if you can see, it's showing 50% charge. Now the 75 and 100% lights are blinking, which lets me know that this is now charging. So I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna run a test. We are at 50% right now. Let's see how long it takes it to get this battery up to 100% using this panel, and then we'll kick the cooler on and test it with a fully charged battery. Now it's also worth mentioning, it's gonna be very difficult to see out here in the sunlight with this camera. There is a battery indicator right here that is showing that the unit is charging. I currently have the cooler powered off. So you have two different ways that you can see battery level indication and charging ability. All right, hopefully y'all can hear me with all the wind, but it's been about an hour and a half, and now this is blinking, as you can see, and showing a full charge. Now I haven't checked on it in about 20 or so minutes, so somewhere between the 1 hour and 1.5 hour mark, it took the battery from 50%. As far as the LEDs show, who knows where the battery was at? Could have been 40%, could have been 60%. But in somewhere between an hour to hour and a half, it has the battery fully topped off. And again, this is in the wintertime, and I don't have the solar panels, optimized. Just did the best I could to point the correct angle at them. I moved everything down to the ground because it's so windy. I was afraid it was going to blow the solar panels off of the table. Okay, so for our first initial test, keep in mind this cooler refrigerator has been sitting in my shop for weeks since the last time that I ran it. So it's at room temperature. However, it's about 50 degrees right now, so we're not in the blazing heat of summer. Supposed to warm up into the 60s today. I have about 10 water bottles over on this side. I'll turn that into the refrigerator side. We'll set it at, say, 40 degrees. That's a typical refrigerator temperature. This side right here, we'll set down to, say, 5 degrees. I'm gonna put a tub of ice in it, representing some frozen food or something we're carrying on a camping trip. Plus, it's very common to run freezers and refrigerator with what's called thermal mass, something in there to store the energy. Just running them empty is not a very efficient process. Plus, let's face it, you're probably not carrying this on a camping trip empty. All right, so again, you can make either side whatever you want it to be. This side, which is the deep side, it looks like we may have 8 bottles of water in there. So we'll make that the refrigerator side. This side over here, which is a little more shallow because it's got the compressor underneath, we will make the freezer side. So let's see if the unit will power up on the battery. It will. Now I can see the display right here, but y'all are not going to be able to because there's such a glare. Maybe if I hold my hand right there. But you can see we have 2 different temperatures on either side. We have the battery indicator running up and down, showing that it's charging. We're also showing 12.6 volts. That it seems to be running off the battery. Again, this is a 12 volt cooler, so that sounds correct. So let me go ahead and set up either side. You can see we have the deep side showing here by the graphic, the shallow side there. So this is the side that we will make the freezer. Deep side, we will make the refrigerator. All right, so I have them set at 40 degrees and 5 degrees. 5 may be a bit much. You could probably get away with 10 or 15 degrees trying to keep frozen food, mostly frozen for a camping trip. Again, this is not a true freezer refrigerator, or you're trying to keep stuff stored at 0 degrees or longer in a deep freezer. Okay, so we're currently reading 50 degrees on the freezer side, 48 over here. We're gonna let this run and see how long it takes to get it down to temperature, monitor the battery usage, and we're gonna keep it charging at the same time. Let's see, does this last all day? Does this last through the night? Or does this, this last a few hours? I have no idea. Now, one thing I think I am gonna do, I'm gonna put a white towel over the cooler because realistically, storing a cooler in direct sunlight, not a good idea. You're not gonna make it as efficient as could be. Doesn't matter if it's an ice cooler or one with a compressor like this. Now, one wish that I have had since day one with Newair, and if y'all were listening, if you can ever get this cooler in white, I think you'd sell a heck of a lot of them. I know personally I'd love to have one in white. Black does fit camping trips and maybe some vehicles and all very well, but white would be excellent for carrying on the boat to the beach and having out in direct sunlight, because sometimes you can't always get your coolers in the shade. All right, so it's only been 27 minutes and I'm kind of impressed with how quick this cooler has cooled down. So we went from 50 degrees on the freezer side to 18 degrees currently in 27 minutes. That's flying. Now on the freezer or refrigerator side, I set it to 40. It's actually overshot that and done went down to 34, but we'll see if it maintains there. Maybe we'll bump it back up a degree or two. But in 27 minutes, we have already went well past refrigerator set point. And it's brought that side down 14 degrees, and the other side is now showing 16 degrees all the way from 50. That's way quicker than I was thinking. All right, so y'all ready for some surprising results? Yesterday at 5 p.m., I unplugged the solar panel because, well, there was no more sunlight hitting this area. Since then, it's been running on the battery. It is now the next morning at 8:30, so do the math there. 15 and a half hours later, I have let this run off the battery alone. And the good news is, it's still working. Now, just to let y'all know, it got back into the low 30s again last night, so obviously that helped the refrigerator side. Actually, the refrigerator side's below temp. I have it set to 40 and it's down in the low 30s right now. So the outside temperature obviously had an effect on that. We're sitting at 8 degrees on the freezer side. I have it set to 5. It does swing some. That's just kind of been typical of this, but we stayed outside for many hours after dark last night enjoying a fire that's right over behind you. And I'll watch this cycle off and on. There's a green light you can see in the compressor compartment. So this still ran throughout the night, maintaining the freezer side temperature because, well, it just didn't get cold enough to cause this not to run at all. So this battery indicator over here is showing 3 out of 5 bars for the battery. We're showing 11.1 volts, although I will say whenever the compressor cycles off and on, I've already seen that this morning, it pulls down into the 10 volt range. So it's definitely got the battery pulled down quite a bit. We initially started with a 12.6 volt charge. Now, if I look over here on the LED indicator on the side of the battery, it's got 4 lights. It's still showing 2 out of 4 bars on the battery indication. So I don't know exactly where we're at, but still somewhere around 50% battery potentially. Although the voltage is showing quite low, I would assume we may be less than that, even though the LED indication is showing that. So regardless of that fact, I did not expect this to run all night. Yes, the temperature's helping me. Now, here's what we're gonna do today. I've decided I wanna do another 24-hour test. Let's show this off. The cool thing is, we've been running exclusively on solar for the last going on 24 hours right now. Sun has just popped back out. I'm gonna set the panels up again today, and I want to see if it'll bring the battery back to full charge. It's supposed to be 15 degrees warmer tonight, so that's a better test for this cooler. And I'm gonna go ahead and put it through its paces today. Yesterday wasn't a fair test because guess what? I didn't open the cooler at all. If you're in a camping situation, that's just not gonna be the case. So here's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna open the freezer compartment 3 different times today for about 10 to 20 seconds, representing you opening it for, say, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if you're pulling something out to cook on the grill or whatever that may be, and I'm gonna introduce some hot air into it. The refrigerator side, I'm working around here all day long. I'm gonna drink exclusively water today, taking cold bottles out, and I'm gonna introduce warm bottles, something else you would do in a camping situation. And I'm gonna do that a lot more, probably up to 6 to 8 times today on the refrigerator side. So we're gonna make this compressor work harder and all while charging. And it's supposed to be warmer today and much warmer tonight. And we'll see if we still have any battery power tomorrow and if we ran 48 straight hours on solar. This is pretty cool, more than I was expecting. Now, I was reading through the instructions and it said to plug this in before opening the solar panels because they start, producing electricity immediately, and you do not want to plug something in when the panel's open. So today, I'm gonna do it the proper way. Go ahead, get this out and plug it in. And I also noticed something else last night when I was looking at this solar panel. Okay, so we're plugged in. I got wondering what these things right here were for. Well, this is kick out stands to actually support this. You don't have to lean this against a cooler or another object. So you have one on both sides to set the solar panel up anywhere that you want to. So there you go, the kick out legs work great. I don't know how I didn't notice that yesterday. All right, so the good news is we're now flashing on the battery indicator. Even this early in the morning, we're pulling a charge in from the sun and the battery is already charging. I'm curious about this test. We're really gonna put it through its paces today with all the opening and closing. All right, so it is next morning. It has literally been 15 hours since I unplugged the solar panel yesterday whenever I lost sunlight in this area. And I am pleased to say, even though it was 15 degrees warmer last night, this cooler is still running on battery power. So right now we're currently showing 11 volts. The compressor isn't running even though the sun is up and blazing on the cooler. And we're still showing 3 out of 5 bars on the battery. And if I look over here on the LED indicator on the battery, which has 4 indication, it's showing 50% charged. Same as yesterday. I'll admit, I am absolutely impressed. I thought with it being much warmer last night that we'd come out to a much more dead batteries this morning. Now, one thing worth noting yesterday, even though we had sunlight yesterday, there was a lot of haze in the sky and it was quite cloudy too at times. I noticed I had to be more particular with my solar panels yesterday because there was 2 or 3 times I quit charging because, well, the sun had moved, it got behind clouds, and I wasn't perfectly pointed at it. The day before, when the sun was out bright, not a cloud in the sky, I only moved the panel 3 times throughout the day. I didn't have to track the sun as much. Now, that's going to be the case with any solar panel, but it's worth noting. So I thought yesterday's results were going to be a lot more realistic, like what you'll encounter. Not everybody's going to be sitting around tracking the sun. So even with me not charging at times yesterday, we still kept the battery topped off. Don't forget also, all day yesterday, I opened and closed the refrigerator side. I took bottles of water out. I put fresh bottles of water in that were at room temperature out of my shop. So that put an extra load, made the freezer or refrigerator side work harder. Also, I opened up the freezer side 3 different times yesterday for about 15 to 20 seconds. Did it in the morning, did it in the middle of the day, and did it in the afternoon, just pretending like I was pulling food out of the campsite. Maybe I was grabbing some hamburger out for the grill or what other frozen goods that I brought. So I tried to make this work extra hard yesterday, and the compressor did run more, no doubt, but the panel was able to keep the battery topped off, and this was able to stay running. I really did not expect this to run 15 hours through a night. So now this has run for 48 hours straight, strictly on battery and solar. I don't think I would have a problem being able to run this the rest of the week like this. So here's the ice that I started with. As you can see, nothing has melted. It's all nice and loose, still frozen. So at no point in the time of this test have I lost power or the temperature ran so high that things started melting. All right, so where do we stand? I'll be the first to admit, a setup like this is not inexpensive. It really isn't, but you got to look at what you're getting here. This isn't a standard big box cooler right here. You've got a compressor in it, a freezer, refrigerator. It can run on 12 volts, it can run on 110 volts. Now it can run on solar. Yes, you got to pick up the solar kit extra if you want the ability to do both. But let's face it, if you're in the boat that you're about to spend several $100s on a big name brand roto-molded cooler, then you got to keep in mind, you still got to go buy $2, $3, $4 a bag ice. Hey, this may be for you if you want the savings. Would rather put the money into a cooler like this. If you're in an off-grid situation somewhere, hey, maybe you're backcountry camping or traveling, and it's 50 miles to the nearest town where that ice is, this is an awesome option. If you're off-grid living, if you're working on a job site, I could think of a lot of people working on, say, in the oil fields or pipeline welding, things like that. You may be in the middle of nowhere. Keeping a cooler ice down just isn't an option. This is an awesome option for that. Only you can determine if this is worth your while for the cost and the convenience of it. So I will say I'm highly impressed. This is my first little venture into solar. I know it's just a small package. I was not expecting one single panel to keep this running for days and days and days. And it looks like it absolutely can. Now, one thing I'm very curious about is how well will this perform, say, in the heat of Florida summer. There's going to be a lot of extra load on here, but with the Florida heat and sun comes, well, more sun. It should be able to charge. Days are longer, more sunlight out, more sun intensity into this panel. I just don't know, but there's gonna be more of a load on this. If y'all like these tests and y'all are curious about that, please drop me a comment. Let me know if in a few months, once it gets really hot here in Florida, if you'd like for me to run another 2, 3, 4, heck, I'll do a 5-day test, whatever you want. But if you're curious about that, like watching these type of videos, drop me a comment. So a big thanks to everybody on the channel for watching these types of videos. I love testing cool products like this that really does fit our lifestyle. Me and Tiffany are outdoor enthusiasts. We're always on the boat. We're always going in the great outdoors. We kind of live out in the middle of nowhere. We're developing a small homestead here. I can see devices like this really working. Plus, not to mention, we're in a hurricane state, power outages, things like that. Hey, people may find this useful for a small freezer refrigerator in a power outage situation too. Again, you determine what fits your needs and your lifestyle for items like this. So thank y'all so much for watching. Newair decided to drop a 10% off code for the cooler if you're interested. By the way, they make a new smaller version of this now too. I think it's 48 quart, and they're offering 10% off the solar panel. The code is down in the description, as well as the links to both of these items if you want to check it out and if you're curious about it. Thank y'all so much for watching.